Before their fame, before the billion-dollar empire, there was just a boy named Sean Combs. Born in Harlem, New York, his story didn't start with luxury, it started with loss. At just 2 years old, his father was killed, leaving behind silence, questions, and a burning void. That void would later become his fuel. Raised by a strong single mother, Sean grew up watching resilience in its rawest form. But Harlem wasn't forgiving. It was loud, chaotic, and ruthless. Every corner told a story, some of survival, others of failure. And young Sean listened. He learned early, if you don't build your future, the streets will decide it for you. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the strongest. But he had something far more dangerous, ambition. While others dreamed, Sean moved. He studied people. He studied power. And most importantly, he studied how to win. At Howard University, he didn't just attend classes, he created opportunities. Interning at Uptown Records, he showed up earlier than anyone else and left later than everyone. Not because he had to, but because he refused to be invisible. This was the beginning of a mindset that would later define him: outwork everyone, outlast everything. Because deep down, Sean Combs already knew, he wasn't meant to stay average. He was meant to take over. Success didn't come easy. In fact, it came with humiliation. Sean worked at Uptown Records with relentless energy, helping shape artists, building visions, proving his value, until one day, it all collapsed. He was fired. No warning. No safety net. For most people, that's the end of the story. For Sean Combs, it was the beginning. He didn't beg for another chance. He created his own lane. That's when Bad Boy Records was born. A name that wasn't just branding, it was a declaration. Then came the moment that changed everything, discovering the Notorious B.I.G. Biggie wasn't polished. He wasn't mainstream. But Sean saw greatness where others saw risk. And he bet everything on it. The world wasn't ready. But when Biggie's music hit, it exploded. Suddenly, Bad Boy Records wasn't just surviving, it was dominating. But success brought chaos. The East Coast versus West Coast rivalry turned the music industry into a battlefield. Tension, violence, fear, it all surrounded them. And then, tragedy struck. Biggie was killed. For Sean, it wasn't just business. It was personal. Pain turned into pressure. Pressure turned into purpose. Instead of collapsing, he stepped into the spotlight himself. Not just as a producer, but as an artist. And that's when Sean Combs became something bigger. He became Diddy. Diddy wasn't just chasing hits, he was building an empire. While others focused on music charts, he focused on ownership, control, legacy. He understood something most artists didn't: fame fades, but business lasts. From music to fashion, he expanded aggressively. Sean John wasn't just a clothing brand, it was a cultural statement. Luxury mixed with street identity. Confidence stitched into every design. And it worked. Awards followed. Respect followed. Money followed. But Diddy didn't stop there. He moved into television, alcohol brands, media, partnerships. Every move was calculated. Every risk intentional. People questioned him. Critics doubted him. But he kept evolving. Reinventing. Winning. Because Diddy never saw himself as just an artist. He saw himself as a mogul. A visionary. A force. He built a life where influence mattered more than applause. Where ownership mattered more than attention. And slowly, the kid from Harlem who once had nothing, became one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. But power comes with a price. And behind the success, behind the billion-dollar image, shadows were beginning to form. Every empire faces storms. And Diddy's storm didn't come quietly, it came loud, public, and relentless. Allegations. Lawsuits. Accusations. Headlines that once praised him now questioned everything. The image of success began to crack. For years, he had built himself as untouchable. But now, the world was watching differently. Every move analyzed. Every past decision brought back into the light. Was this the cost of power? Or the truth finally catching up? The same man who once controlled narratives was now inside one. Fans were divided. Some defended him. Others turned away. The industry that once celebrated him grew silent. And for the first time in decades, Diddy wasn't leading the story, he was reacting to it. But this is where legends are tested. Not in success, but in pressure. Because when everything starts falling apart, you find out who you really are. And the question remained. Was Diddy's story ending, or was this just another chapter of transformation? Today, the name Diddy carries weight. But that weight is different now. It's no longer just about success, it's about legacy. How will the world remember Sean Combs? As the visionary who built an empire from nothing? Or as a man whose controversies overshadowed his achievements? Because history doesn't just remember wins, it remembers truth. Diddy's journey is powerful. A story of ambition, resilience, and dominance. But it's also a reminder. A warning. That success without control can turn into chaos. That power without accountability can collapse. Yet one thing remains undeniable, he changed the game. He redefined what it meant to be more than an artist. From Harlem streets to global stages, from loss to legacy, his story is unforgettable. But maybe the real lesson isn't about becoming Diddy. Maybe it's about understanding the cost of becoming him. Because behind every empire, there's a story. And not all of them have a perfect ending.